artists, welcome to your Sunset with Dogs painting. My name is Miss M, and in front of you, you should have your canvas long ways like so. You should have red, yellow, and black paint. You do not need a plate. I just always use a plate for myself. Also, be sure to have a cup of water, your larger brush, your smaller brush, paper towel, and mine have been used several times, so excuse my mess. Also, you should have a pencil, your small pup template or your little cutout, and your big dog template. If you do not have all these materials in front of you, you are welcome to push pause and join us whenever you're ready. All right, artists, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to twirl my two brushes in my cup of water, get it nice and clean. And then I'm going to pat my brushes on my paper towel. Get those two brushes nice and clean as well. Before we start on our tree, our land, or our dogs, we are going to start with a background. With our background, the top third is mostly red, then more orange in the second third, and then more yellow on the bottom. We'll wait for that to dry, and then we'll start building everything on top of it. So the first thing I want you to do once you're done washing and drying your brushes is grab your larger brush and dip it into the red. Not too much, just a little bit of a dip. And I want you to come down definitely more than halfway up and make a line from side to side like this. So from the left side to the right side, about this much, probably twice the width as a ruler. So 1 and 2. And then I do want you to carry that line across to the left and to the right. So a nice long red line from side to side on that top third. Once you're done, I want you to take your big brush again and go over that red line and work your way up from side to side. And you can go back for more red paint whenever you feel like your brush is running out. So a little bit more red paint. From left side to right side, try to drag your brush all the way from one side to the next. So from left to right, right to left, and I'm just kind of sweeping back and forth. And I did go over my outline that I made earlier. And again, I can go back for more red paint. Side to side. I want to cover up all that white space. Go from left to right. And if you have a hard time moving your paint, you can always add water to your brush, tap it on the paper towel about 5 or 6 times, and go over your paint with water. That'll help move your paint a little bit easier. So dip your brush in the water, tap it on your paper towel about 5 or 6 times, and then make nice long lines from one side to the next. And you don't even have to clean your brush, but you do want to kind of keep on adding some more red to your big brush and adding some to the left side. So that same red paint, go above that line that you made earlier. Same with the right side. You can just go back to more red if you need some and work your way up side to side on the right side of your canvas. Like so. And then the very top of our canvas, we can go back to more red paint and paint side to side as well. So that top third, including the left side, the right side, and the top is going to be all painted red. So we have a nice red top to our background. Make sure your paint looks nice and smooth. Go from one side to the next. Smooth out any bumps. Looks nice and clean. And you do not even have to clean your brush because we are going to be working with orange and it'll be mostly in the center area. So I'm going to take a scoop of red and a scoop of yellow. My big brush. Make it into a nice orange, maybe a little bit more yellow. So I went in for a second scoop of yellow. 1 scoop of red, 2 scoops of yellow, mix it into a nice orange. Maybe just wipe off any extra you have on the side of your brush. 1 scoop, 2 scoops, mix with your big brush. The next thing I'm going to work on is this orange area. I am going to come up a little bit higher than my red before my red dries and make a line just a little bit higher than my red line. And I'll carry it over to the left. And this is all with that orange paint that I have on my brush. Up just a little bit thinner than a ruler. Orange line from side to side. You can go back for more orange. I'm going to work about the same amount as this red area. So I kind of marked the width of that one, made sure it's about even. Make a nice orange line from side to side. Carry it over to the left, carry it over to the right. And all the space between it is going to be with my orange mix. And it looks like I'm running low, so I'm going to go back and get 1 scoop of red, 2 scoops of yellow for my formula. Mix it and paint side to side between those 2 orange lines. I'm going to even overlap over the orange lines just a little bit. I'm going to go up. Side to side. If I'm having a hard time moving my paint, add water, tap it on the paper towel, and then go over my orange. And again, you do want to go over your orange line so you don't see a perfect orange line. And I am going to, excuse me, go over this orange line up here and even come up into my red just a little bit. Side to side. Water, tap, tap, tap. I'm just going to move that orange a little bit better. And I'm coming up into my red just a little bit as well. And I am going to carry those colors, that orange, excuse me, over to the left side. Come up and over the lines just a little bit. I'm just working side to side, never up and down. Same with the right side. Be sure that I'm working mostly between those orange lines. Coming down a little bit, coming up a little bit over it. It's a nice orange area. Again, I'm going up into my red a little bit as well, so I don't have really harsh red. I want to kind of make it a little bit lighter. I can go back for more if I need to. This part, I can see a lot of the canvas still, so I might want to give it a minute to dry and then go over it with another coat. So if there's any areas that you're finding it hard to paint on top of, give it some more time to dry to where it doesn't look so shiny, and then go over it with another coat of paint. It's okay if you can still see a little bit of the canvas peeking through, but you don't want too much of that canvas to be peeking through, because it does kind of have that watercolor feel where it's really light on here. All right, and then again, don't forget about the sides where the red and the orange curve over. Perfect. All right, take your time with this. If you're still working on the red and the orange, please pause the video. Again, be sure everything looks smooth. Go from one end to the next. All right, whenever you're ready for it, please don't let the red or the orange dry, but you do want to wipe your brush onto your paper towel. You don't want to wash it. Just wipe it dry on the paper towel. And then you want to dip into your yellow paint with your big brush. So I wiped off my big brush, my paper towel. Most of the orange is gone. There might still be a little bit left. That's fine. I went into my yellow, and I'm going to come up kind of like how I did before with my orange. Then I'm going to come up and over my orange with my yellow this time. And I'm going to turn that yellow to the left, turn that yellow to the right. So I always want to have a blending area where the two colors are working together so it doesn't look like stripes. You have an area where they meet and they work together before it's more on its own. So I came up with my yellow and overlapped over my orange, made a line to the left and to the right, and all the space underneath it, I'm gonna paint side to side with yellow. You do not have to worry about the very bottom, but you do want yellow on the left and the right side. Come up here, add some yellow, and I'll go even a little bit higher up so I can break up that line. So it's not so harsh with my yellow. Going up into my orange a little bit, then I can go back to more yellow and just kind of start working my way down. If you feel like there's still too much orange on there, you can just wipe some off. It's okay if there's a little bit more orange, you don't want it to be like a bright yellow. From one side to the next. So left to the right, paint all the way down. You don't have to worry about the part where it curves over though, but all the way to the bottom part of the front of the canvas. You can come back up if you need to. Nice long smooth lines with your big brush from left to right. Smooth it out. If you feel like your blends aren't working too well together, you can always have both colors on your brush at the same time. So if right here doesn't look nice and a nice change of color, I can have orange and yellow on my brush at the same time and go between the two. Maybe add some water, tap, 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 and just kind of smooth those out. So you can always go back and have both colors on your brush where they meet. Go side to side and then maybe add water to your brush. Tap it on your paper towel. Then go over it to kind of smooth it out or make it more of a blend. Perfect. And then don't forget the side where it curls over. I have too much orange on there. I go back to more yellow on my brush. And don't be afraid to go back. If you want to go back and give it another coat, just be aware that wet colors do blend together. So those, if a wet color touches another wet color, it's gonna keep working together. Like so, and again, I don't have to worry about the very bottom. Go back. So you should have a nice gradual red, orange, yellow blend. I go over and smooth it out just a little bit more. Make sure it looks nice and neat. Make sure I have all those white spots on the sides as well. All right. I'm gonna wash and dry my brush. If you are still working on this part, please continue to. I am gonna put my video on pause for about 5 minutes to get my background nice and dry, because if it looks shiny, it's still wet, and I don't want to paint any of the black silhouette on top while my reds, oranges, and yellows are still wet. So I'll put my video on pause if you want to give yours some drying time too, and then I'll come back and I will show you the next part of our painting. All right, artists, let's go ahead and continue on our painting. We are going to build our land, our dogs, and our tree to the left side. So let's go ahead and get started. For this part, you'll need your pencil and your 2 dog shapes. I want you to start with your pencil and about a ruler's width, so about that high up from the bottom, still with a lot of yellow showing. I want you to take your pencil and go from one side to the next. Just gonna take your pencil, and it doesn't have to be a perfect line. We'll build grass on top of it later. And then I want you to even go ahead and take your pencil and kind of curve that pencil line to the left where it curves over, and curve that pencil to the right where it curves over. Once you are done, I do want you to take your larger dog shape, so not the bigger one, not the smaller one, but the bigger one, with a little bit of space on the right side. And it doesn't matter which way you have it. They're Pretty much the same both ways. Leave a little bit of space, just a little bit, because you'll need room for your tree and your little dog here in just a moment. So just a tiny bit of space on the right side. On top of the line, so you want to kind of line up your dog, the bottom area right here with the line that you just made. Hold your dog shape, your larger dog shape with one hand, and outline with your pencil with the other hand. I'm going to go all the way around the best I can. Like so, and then I can just lift up, and there is my cute dog shape. I'm going to fill in anywhere that I might have missed. Like so. Perfect. And then I can put the big one aside, and I'll go to the smaller one. And again, it doesn't matter which way you have it. I'm going to leave a little bit of space between the two, because remember, I do want to build a nice big tree on the left side. So be sure there's a good amount of space between the two dogs, but enough space to build a tree. Take my pencil, hold it with one hand, make sure it's lined up with that line. Go around it. Ooh. Hold it with one hand, outline with the other. If you're left-handed, you'll be kind of doing the opposite. You'll probably be holding it with your right hand and outlining it with your left hand. Either way is perfectly fine. And then just lift. You can go back in there and kind of fix it up just a little bit. I always have shaky hands, so I go back and kind of fix up that dog shape. So cute. All right. Again, be sure all the paint in the background is nice and dry, because we are going to be going into our black paint. The first thing I'm going to have you do is actually grab your larger brush of the two. Make sure it's nicely washed and dried from before. So large brush. And if you're still outlining, you're welcome to push pause on the video until you're ready for it. Big brush, black paint when you're ready. I want you to take your big brush and just go a little bit over your pencil line. You're going to go from one side to the next. So you're just going a little bit over your pencil line with your big brush and your black paint. Pretty much just covering up the line that you made with your pencil at the beginning. And then carefully go over that line on the left side and go over the line on the right side. So you're pretty much just going over your pencil line. And then take your big brush and your black paint and paint all the space side to side underneath your line. Make sure it looks nice and smooth. Be sure that you don't have any yellow or orange peeking through. You do want to paint the sides where it curls over underneath your line. And also you do want to paint the very bottom part now too. So everything underneath this line is going to be black, and I'm painting side to side. You want to do 2 coats of black if you feel like there's still some yellow and orange poking through. Let it dry and then go back and do another coat. And the right side as well. The very bottom. So all of that space underneath the line, including the sides and the very bottom of your canvas, is going to go ahead and be painted black. And again, if you want to do 2 coats, if you feel like you can still see some orange and yellow peeking through, let it dry for a couple minutes and then go back and give this a nice second coat. Go over any bumps too. Side to side, a nice black silhouette. Perfect. Once you're done, you can go ahead and wash and dry your big brush. Wash and dry your big brush. Put it off to the side. The next thing we're going to do, we are going to very carefully outline with our small brush our dog shapes, and you could fill it in with your small brush or your big brush with black. So let me show you how. And you got to be very careful not to put your hand into the black paint. So be very careful, be very aware of the shiny black paint. Small brush, black paint. I'm gonna just be more on the inside of this line so I don't make the dogs too big. I want to keep them small. Outline that shape. All done with my small brush and my black paint. And just be on the tippy toes. Don't push too hard to where your brush is expanding too much. Just want to be doing some nice thin line work. Once you're done, you can use your small brush or your big brush to completely fill in all this space, whatever you feel more comfortable with. And again, 2 coats. If you feel like you can see the orange and black poking through. And if you accidentally get out of that shape that you made, you can just use your small brush and outline just a little bit on the outside of it to kind of get the line back. But do your best to stay within these lines for your puppy shape, your smaller dog shape. Then we'll kind of be doing the same, or we will be doing the same thing to the larger dog, where we outline with the small brush, and then you can use your smaller or larger brush to fill it in. Just be very careful to stay inside those lines. Again, if you want to do 2 coats, if you want to use your larger brush to kind of flatten out some of the paint, if it got a little too bumpy, you can. Just make yourself comfortable. Be sure to take your time. So just 1 dog. And then small brush again, kind of going a little bit more in than outside of the line, but covering it up. Black paint only. So I have the black outline for the other dog. And I can fill it in with my small brush or my larger brush. 2 coats if I need to. Just be sure to give it a couple minutes to dry before you go over it a second time, so your paint doesn't keep moving. You want to layer on top of it if you want a second coat. Just kind of moving in an up and down motion with my brush, being extra careful about staying inside those outlines. Take your time with this, no rush. If you need to clean the outside lines a little bit, remember you can use the side of your brush and just drag it. Keep it going, keep it nice and clean. Again, I would recommend 2 coats. Come down here, kind of paint side to side to kind of make it work with the land area better. Sorry about that. Make sure you don't see any colors poking through in a nice solid black silhouette. Perfect. All right, and while those are drying and before I put any grass down, I am gonna work on my tree on the left side, I'm gonna keep to my small brush and I'm gonna keep to my black paint. So a small brush and a little bit of black paint. If you're still working on your dog again, you are welcome to pause the video. Come out just a little more out, sorry about that. So if you're still working on your dogs, you are welcome to give it a couple minutes before you start this, or take your time with your dogs, no rush at all. So whenever you're ready, again, small brush, black paint. I'm gonna come a little bit to the right from the left edge, so just a little bit over here. And I'm gonna do a trick that I do a lot with my trees and painting classes. I'm gonna make dashes instead of making long lines, and then I'll go back and connect my dashes. So I'm gonna start over here on my canvas, a little bit to the right. I'm gonna come up and stop where my orange and yellow kind of meet right here. So stop right there. I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna come up diagonal just a little bit. So not at the very end. I come up and just make a little bit of a curvy diagonal dashes to the left. So it kind of curves that way with my dashes. Kind of has that Y shape with my dashes. Then I'm gonna keep on going higher up. Continued on to this one. And then right about here, I'm gonna make another line that kind of curves up into line with my dashes. So I'm gonna go up and 1 and 2 areas where I kind of break off into the left. I'm gonna kind of curve this one a little bit to the left right here. So now I have 1, 2, 3, but I want to continue to get a little bit higher with my tree. 1, 2, almost to the top. Between this one and this one, I'm gonna come up and to the right with some diagonal lines, like so. So I have 1, 2, 3 coming off to the left, 1 straight one, and then 1 to the right. All right, and I'm gonna actually attach all of those. So I'm gonna take my small brush and I'm gonna line those up. So there's one. Always go back for a little bit more black paint. And just be sure that you're on the tippy toes of your brush. You don't want to push too hard. There's 2. You can just attach them. There's 3. There's 4. And then there's 5. Perfect. I am gonna kind of continue growing my tree a little bit to the right. So let me show you how. And if you're still working on this part, you're welcome to push pause. Perfect. So underneath this one a little bit, so this middle one on the left, I'm gonna start just a little bit underneath and make a line that kind of comes out with a little bit of a curve and then comes up like so. So you'll see a little bit of a curve, and then I'm gonna break out to the left, almost like a Y shape. And then right here, I'm gonna make another dashed area like so. And then I can go ahead and connect those. So I'm gonna start on the bottom and then just kind of work my way up. So there's that one. And there's that one. And there's that one. So do you see that Y shape right there? There's a little bit of a branch that does break off up here a little bit. So let me get this one on the left, make those dash lines, and then I can connect them. And the dashes just kind of help me slow down my hand, kind of figure out where my branches break off. So I have this main Y shape right here, right, that I just made. I am gonna start at the tip of this one right here. I'm gonna come up and to the right like that. And I'm gonna start at that same point, and then I'm gonna come out like that. So you kind of see that sideways V shape right there. And I can go ahead and connect them. Perfect. All right. And then there is a little bit of a kind of little break off of down here too. So I'm going to start down here where I kind of begun that major one that I just did. I'm going to make a little bit of a diagonal line, break it off into a Y shape. You guys see that Y shape right there? Boop, boop. A little bit of a line in the middle too. Kind of break it up a little bit. And then I'm going to attach all those. So my sideways Y, and I'll go in there and attach all of them. Make sure your lines look nice and smooth. I do want to come down here and make this a little bit thicker down here. So once I have my branches, I do want to go in there and make it a little bit thicker. So a little bit more black paint. I'm going to start on the right side and just going to come out just a little bit, maybe even a little bit of a little notch out there, and then come back out. So I do want to give it a little bit of a thickness, then maybe even some out to the left too. Areas that I feel like I need a little bit more of a thicker line. So let's say right here, I do want to make it a little bit more sturdy. So I do want to go in there maybe, because it does usually start from thick and gets a little bit thinner as you go out. So let me take another look. So I down here came out a little bit, made that a little bit thicker, maybe even up here if I want to make this area just a little bit thicker to kind of help it kind of work together a little bit better. And if there's any other areas that you feel like you want to fill in with branches, you're welcome to as well. In just a moment, I'll show you how to kind of still fill in with some leaves. But if you feel like you do want more branches, be very careful, but you're welcome to add more branches in here. If you want another one here, just be sure to be super careful and use the dash method before you go in there and connect it to make it official. So if you're still working on your tree branches, you're welcome to push pause on your video. But whenever you're ready, it's going to be that same small brush, the same black paint, and maybe even tap some off on your paper towel because you don't want too much on there, but small brush, black paint. And I'm just going to be just jumping kind of like on the tippy toes of my brush at the ends and adding some black leaves. So just kind of jump at the ends of those trees, branches. Just gonna fill it in a little bit more. You still want to see some of the colors poking through, and a lot of times it does kind of come to a point, so there's kind of like a pointier end. But all I'm doing is adding black to my brush, just kind of jumping up and down. You can even add some areas where there's no branches. It's just kind of a little bit of a filler. You have some areas where there's a little bit more paint on your brush. Some areas where there's a little bit, you have a little bit more of a dry brush. You can see a little bit more of the color peeking through. But I'm just jumping with my small brush. Fill that space up a little bit smoother right there. each area, same idea. Again, you can go in there and kind of fill up some of the spaces with some green, or with some leaves. Get it nice and full. Some areas with a little bit more paint on your brush, maybe some areas with a little bit less black paint on your brush. And before you're done, just kind of move your brush back, look at your tree, see if there's any spots that you want to fill in more. If you made a mistake somewhere, you can always go over it with these little areas too. So let's say you don't like one of your branches, just go over and kind of cover it up with some of these black leaves. Perfect. Maybe, I think I'm gonna build a branch right here, coming up to kind of a nice little filler. There is one last thing. Whenever you're ready for it, I am going to build some grass with my small brush. So once you have your tree laid out, the dogs look great, the land looks great, you can go back to your small brush and your black paint. You want to start from your land and just kind of sweep up. You're just kind of creating that flicking motion. A little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. You don't have to worry about the sides. But between each dog and between the left and the right of the tree, you're going to start in your land and just going to flick a little bit up, tiny bit, to get some grass on your land too. Like so. So cute. And then there you are. Again, take a step back if you want to go in there and add more branches, if you want to add more grass. Be sure you have a nice full field and you're just kind of flicking a little bit up with your small brush. And there you go. You're all done with your masterpiece. Hopefully you had a great time. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't be afraid to go back and touch things up. Just be aware that if a wet paint touches another wet paint, they are going to blend and mix. So you might need to give some paint some time to dry before you build on top of it or next to it. All right, artists, thank you so much for joining us and have a beautiful day.